Item number 1, Tommy.
It's, there's a recommendation for rezoning by the planning commission for auto repair. Vote was 8-1.
Okay, auto repair for that. It was recommended by the planning commission? Yeah, okay.
It was recommended by the planning commission, yes.
Okay, we'll have a conversation on that one. Anybody got any questions about item number 1? That would be right in this district, I believe. Okay. Item number 2, Tommy, what's going on with that?
That was a request to rezone for the purpose of using tenant space in the shopping center for mini warehouse storage.
Okay. That's that old Capital Wholesale location?
Yes, Capitol Plaza.
Capital Plaza? Okay. And they're gonna do some storage in there?
We convert some units to
Storage? Yeah,
storage, yes.
I got you. Okay.
That was unanimous also.
All right. And number 3, I understand they haven't even opened up yet.
She said she would be here, but there are no calls for service.
There's no cost of service, they haven't
No,
done
sir.
anything. Okay. Number 4 is traffic light on 31 New Amazon Road intersection. Okay. That's kind of housekeeping, I believe, Mayor. Shouldn't be an issue there. Anybody got a question on item number 4? Okay. Let's go to item number 5. This one is we'll have to talk about, I think he's went out of business owing us money. Is that correct?
Was that the one?
Yeah, Betty. Item number 5 is Mr. G's.
Mr. Gus's.
So has he talked to y'all? On your microphone. Has Mr. G's talked to you about it? Any agreement or anything?
He has asked for a payment agreement.
Okay,
However, we did want it to come before council, especially since he was closed in July of last year
right.
and did not make any efforts to contact the city for a payment agreement. But I guess when he wanted to renew his license and realized that he had the balance, then he wanted to enter into an agreement. So
So is it an agreeable agreement?
well, we actually did not entertain it. I really wanted to defer to the council because we can't renew a license with him having the balance.
Right.
So he's not, is this agreement gonna consist of him paying some, you say you hadn't entertained it, but will he be made to pay something initially with this agreement?
Yes, it will require him to pay a down payment. And
Okay.
then, of course, the balance will,
Well, we'll just refer him to you for an agreement,
okay,
and then we'll go from there. Okay?
okay, that sounds good.
President,
Yes, sir.
so we just get the payment up front before we renew a license?
The payment is approximately, it's a pretty good, hefty amount.
17,000, right?
16.
Right, and when we apprised him of that, he was unable to make that entire payment.
Don't say how much.
You know,
Number 16.
okay. Let's just see what he does. We'll tell him he has to make a deal.
Okay.
But, and I guess my
Okay,
question, Charlie,
Yes, sir.
I guess my question, if he does not own the building and he does not pay, where do that leave us? We can't put a lien on it, correct? Because he's leasing, is that not correct?
I'm sure he is, yeah.
But
Yeah.
these are liabilities that he incurred.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but if he does not pay at this point and it continues to grow, we can't not do anything.
Right, we lose. We lose.
Yeah, we lose.
Yeah. We just he's gotta come up with some acceptable position with you that we know we would get our money. And I think that's the deal. In this situation, if he's going back in business, he should have some money to be able to open that business back up. It ain't going to open up without a good bit of revenue to start out with.
Right, and generally, we require him to put 20%, a minimum of 20% down.
20%?
A minimum.
Okay.
But
Let's see what he says, okay?
Sounds
Talk to him
good,
at 5.
thank you.
Okay, number 6.
That's all?
These are all these event centers now. We need to,
But we'll do it
at the 5 o'clock, we're gonna talk about the event centers. They're all coming up.
Carry it over.
Huh? They all gonna be carried over, I think. Okay.
All these in your district?
No, just the first one.
We have a lot.
Y'all
A
party
lot of
hard
them,
over
though.
there.
Okay. Number 9's an event center. Number 10's an event center. My Lord. Oh, we got something here, Red Bluff and the Silos. This is not an event center, okay. We'll see about this one when it comes in front of us. It's
Where
a-
is that?
Number 11. That looks like a special deal down at the river, okay? That doesn't look like this 30-day liquor license, okay? That's good. Number 12, the restaurant on Troy Highway, beer license on him,
Now,
okay? Is that okay, Mitchell?
I have a problem with, I think that restaurant, I have a problem with off-premise. I have no problem with on-premise, but I do have a
Off, okay,
off-premise. I do have a problem with a restaurant off-premise.
okay.
That automatically goes with it.
Yeah, so we gonna have to,
It
yeah,
automatically, that's ABC driven, that's not us.
okay. Well, yeah, I have a problem with it.
Okay. Number 13, renewal of the cruise region on the planning commission, okay. Appointment. Number 14 is appointment, number 15 is appointment, number 16. This is somebody that I understand is, we're just trying to tell him he's got to fix it up. We're not going to tear it down. He just needs to improve his property. And I can see he does need to improve his property.
I think Brandon has talked with the two ladies involved.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, so we'll place this up at 5 o'clock, okay? Number 17, you got another tear down on Fred Gray, one on West Street, one on Second Weary Street, okay? Number 18 is for the, all right, abatements and then the nuisance, okay? Pretty well covers what we got to do today. We got some people like, the mayor wants to talk to us first of all about the, he's got something he wants to talk about. I got that here. Mayor, you're up.
Thank you.
Yeah,
How's everybody doing?
very good.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Just a couple of things I want to bring the council up to speed on the work session. We have a little bit more time than we might have in the regular session. I want to first make you all aware of something that we're truly grateful for, and that is an anonymous donor did step up to pay the fine for renaming Jefferson Davis Avenue after Fred Gray. They agreed to pay the $25,000 in full, and we're grateful for that. They also committed to assisting the city where necessary, as they believe this is where Montgomery should go. And we're glad to have the support of them and others who have reached out since well over last year. So we see that there are enough friends and allies there to support writing a new narrative for this city and what we're doing to move forward. And in recent years, we've seen an inspired movement throughout the country to rethink and retell history in a more honest way. And Montgomery is no different. And as E.D. Nixon said some time ago, the pilot light of this nation is a city. And so we believe that we should lead this effort. And we know the work that the Equal Justice Initiative has done and other organizations have done to help bring light to this. And so last year I put together a committee of local historians and professors and charged them with helping Montgomery to address and identify other places and spaces that we need to be aware of. Many of us are natives here to the city, but there's a lot of history that we don't know. There's a lot of history that I learn, seems like every day, from people who've been in this community, people who've left and whose parents and grandparents lived here. And it's rich, but some of it is also resistance oriented, and some of those stories have been brought to us. And so we wanted to ask this committee last year to look at other streets, parks, and other public places to make sure that those who these spaces and places were named after were truly honorable, and those that were not, maybe we should address. And so the committee considered potential streets, parks, and perhaps other public venues to look at name changes, and it was led by Dr. Howard Robinson as committee co-chair, and I think Dr. Regina Moore from Auburn University. Also on the committee were former director of the Alabama State Archives, Dr. Ed Bridges, Judge Vanzetta McPherson, and Nancy Anderson and Elvin Lane. So we brought out a good group of people who put several months into doing the research on street names, and at this time last year there was a lot of conversation around the schools being named as well. And so some of the considerations and criteria that they looked at was if the street was a main thoroughfare or located in a part of town in which visitors were likely to travel, if an entire street or just part of it would be changed, especially if it's a street that has two different names depending on what part of town it's in. For example, Decatur Street turns into Norman Bridge, that essentially divided along racial lines. It's very interesting to hear the story of how some of these things came to pass in the city. And so following this examination, the committee provided potential new names to commemorate with those streets or venues to help create a more honest, healing narrative and approach to Montgomery's history and the narrative that we want to be written going forward. And so the committee made this recommendation to me exactly 1 year ago today. And now I want to share them with you, and I want you to consider these in the upcoming weeks so we can come back and have a discussion around them. And we know that with the formal renaming process, you have to get the property owner approval, the planning commission, city council approval. But this is something that, although it was given to me on March 1st, 2021, because the ordeal around changing Westchester Davis Avenue kind of went longer than I thought, I didn't want to introduce it at that time. And so I wanted to bring it to you at a time for your consideration for us to discuss in the upcoming weeks. Ms. Blaylock, we just got the full report that was sent to me. It's pretty lengthy, but if you will give each council member a copy, they'll have the full and thorough report of what these historians and archivists found in their research. And I think it will be a learning experience for many of them as it was for me. So it's not anything I want to act on right now. I just wanted to kind of make you aware of what the committee had done exactly a year ago to this day when they submitted it to me, and what we hope to bring back before this council, and we can have discussions about it in the upcoming weeks as well. Now, so that's just kind of an FYI in short version, just an FYI. Now I want to move to an update regarding my trip yesterday to Washington, D.C. It's important, I think, for us to understand that we're at an unprecedented time where there's more funding available for cities and communities that's been available in any recent administration, probably dating back at least 30 years. This money and these funds allocated through federal grants and programs are really designed to help us, in particular in communities that have seen a lack of investment. One of the things that the White House was very key in pointing out yesterday, President Biden was very deliberate in pointing out as we concluded Black History Month, were those investments that they believe directly impact Black people and the communities in which many of them live. $2.9 billion has been allocated for funding for lead service line replacement. That is for those lead pipes that many people are seeing the discoloration of water that are outdated and that environmentally are unsafe. Minority business development under the bipartisan infrastructure law. It permanently authorized the Minority Business Development Agency for the first time since its inception. This has kind of been one of those departments that was here in one administration and gone the next. Well, now it is a permanent administration, and it grants the agency expanded power to support Black and other minority-owned businesses. It's something that we've talked about a lot here in this council with small business owners that have come before us, and many conversations that we've had in our cabinet meetings. We know that making sure that Black businesses, brown businesses, and women-owned businesses have a fair chance to succeed and to sustain that success is important to our economic growth. It is disproportionately important to our economic growth here in Central Alabama, where our population does not reflect that community or that economic impact in terms of the scale and size of Black-owned businesses. And so what we got yesterday from the President and from Vice President Harris were just some of the things that they have pointed out that in the time they've been in office, they believe will help cities like Montgomery. And it's very important for us to understand those things because it hasn't always been there, and it didn't matter if it was a Democrat in the White House or a Republican in the White House. It just changes based on the leadership and based on the environment. Well, one of the other high points that I wanted to mention was also the support for community violence intervention programs. The administration pivoted 26 existing grant programs around 5 agencies to support community violence intervention programs. And President Biden continues to seek $5 billion in dedicated funding for these programs as well. We believe that listening to some of the mayors as the President's Intergovernmental Office for the Office for Intergovernmental Affairs has done, that this will help curtail some of the epidemic of gun violence that has hit communities like Montgomery the hardest. Finally, one of the things that was very important for them to point out was reversing the decades of disinvestment through the bipartisan infrastructure law. The bipartisan infrastructure law will increase access to good-paying jobs, expand affordable broadband, reliable transportation, and clean drinking water, and reconnect Black neighborhoods such as those in Centennial Hill that have been divided by legacy highway infrastructure. These things are significant because we're talking about hundreds of millions and billions of dollars that are there for us to get in a once-in-a-generation opportunity. This is why I will go to Washington, D.C. tomorrow if they ask me to come meet with the cabinet secretary. This is why I'll go for any meeting that they have because it allows us to take Montgomery to where the power source is. It allows us to talk about things that are happening in our city and the needs that we have and some of the challenges we have when working with some of our state legislative leaders. Cities, as council members and as mayors, we don't have the opportunity to kick the can down the road like some of our legislative colleagues do. People expect us to get things done. And they come here whether or not we can do them or whether or not we have the statutory obligation to do them or not because we're who they see first and we're who they meet first. And so when you have this opportunity that so many mayors and so many cabinet secretaries expressed just yesterday, we want to take advantage of it. And we want to push all our chips in the middle of the table to make sure that we're getting back for our community everything that we can. What happens in the state legislature on Gold Hill and some of the things that go on there, I can't explain. But what I don't want is for Montgomery to be left out of this windfall of federal dollars that's coming to cities and communities that somebody's going to get. Whether it's Richmond, California, or whether it's Albuquerque, New Mexico, cities are going to get this money. It's not going to go unspent. And so this is why we are advocating both through our relationships and through certainly our congressional delegation for things that we need and we want in our city. And one of the things that came out of yesterday's meeting or yesterday's Black History program was a meeting with the EPA director, cabinet member, Michael Regan. I was introduced to Michael Regan yesterday by former New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu, who was a senior advisor responsible for coordinating implementation of the bipartisan infrastructure law. And I mentioned to former Mayor Lieutenant Governor Landrieu that I was trying to talk to him about how the infrastructure dollars would be dispersed. And we get those questions, I think, every meeting here about what's going to happen in some neighborhoods. And as a former mayor, he understands that, and certainly being mayor of New Orleans, he understands the importance of clean water, he understands the importance of lead pipes, and he understands the importance of water and sewer lines and the things that are needed in order to help cities grow, in particular in the South. Beyond being a big advocate for New Orleans, he is an advocate for southern cities and communities, and that's not something you always have in the federal administration. But what he shared with me were two things. He said, one, do you have an infrastructure coordinator? I said, I do not. He said, well, Mayor, you need to appoint one. He said, because we have weekly meetings and weekly calls where we can walk your infrastructure coordinator through how you all can access the money, how you can access the grants that you need. He said, second, I want to make sure that the state and Governor Ivey are doing everything they can to get the money that's already been allocated out to the cities. And he said, well, I will handle my end, you handle your end. And I told him I would handle my end. I told him we had a council meeting we had to get back for here this evening. Well, as he was saying that, he told me he thought I needed to meet someone that was a member of the president's cabinet who I never met before, and that person was Michael Regan. And he explained to me that Michael Regan was a former Environmental Protection Agency regional coordinator for the Southeast about 5 years ago under the administration of President Obama. Now he is a cabinet member himself as the EPA director. He told me that under Michael Regan's control, he has $60 billion, that's billion with a B, that he is charged to allocate to communities for infrastructure needs, everything from clean air and clean water to addressing the issue of lead pipes throughout this community. Unfortunately, disproportionately, these impact poor communities, poor white, poor black, and poor brown communities all across the country. And so there is an equity initiative that President Biden has put in all of his administrative, executive orders and laws. And what that means is if you're in a city like ours or region like most of the Black Belt that has not seen a level of disinvestment, there's a level of priority that you're given in terms of your grants. There's a level of priority given in terms of our application for the funding and for the resources that is provided. And so, not being as familiar with the EPA as I am with some of the other cabinets, I asked Director Regan if he would be open to coming to visit Montgomery. And he told me he wanted to come here. He's from North Carolina and would love to come and learn more about what we're doing on the ground and what some of our challenges are. But aside from the $60 billion that Director Regan has under his authority to address these issues, the EPA awards Betty and Kelby more than $4 billion in funding for grants and other assistance. And so we're thinking about what type of grants we go after, and we're thinking about some of the decisions we have to make. The answer is yes as it relates to getting some additional grant writing support. Again, we want to push all our chips in the middle of the table. The president has 4 former mayors in his cabinet. That's the most former mayors of any president's had out of any party. They understand what the challenges are at the local level. And all of them have said to the president and his staff that they wish that they had had this type of opportunity, these type of resources when they were in this position. So we have the unique opportunity to bring about grant programs to support investments in green and sustainable infrastructure that lead to green streets, green jobs, green towns, and other funding opportunities. And so I just want to say that whether it's through water and sewer or broadband infrastructure, including green infrastructure, we've got a unique moment in our leadership and in this administration, in our time in office, to really do some good things. And I certainly hope that the state is making sure that they go after these resources as much as they can, but I want to let you know I'm going to go after them as much as I can. Good. And so that's what we look forward to bringing back. And what I want you to make sure you do is I want you to make sure that your appointments on the Water Authority and anywhere else on the boards that you make appointments are following up on this information. And they're doing their part. You all can't do it all at the city council. We can't do it all in the mayor's office. There's room and there are other cities whose authorities are doing a lot of this work and are going after the dollars themselves. And we have to make sure that our authorities and our appointments are doing the same to maximize resources, water and sewer and alike, to make sure that this community has the same opportunity to grow and thrive like others do throughout the state and throughout this country. So, Mr. President, that's my overview for the work session, and I look forward to coming back and kind of sharing a few other things with you during the mayor's message. Thanks so much. If
Okay,
you guys
thank
have
you.
any
Thank you,
questions,
Vice
let me
Mayor.
know.
Thank you.
Good deal. He said, do you want to speak on this rental hall deal now? You want to wait?
Mr. President, yes, we, as a council, as a committee, and if you look at our agenda for today, we have 5 to 6 event centers on the agenda for today. And what we're trying to do is come up with an ordinance that's going to be workable where everybody understands. Are you a legit event center, meaning you have a license, that you have a business license through our business department as an event center, not someone that just has space in the back of your facility that you're renting out. So I asked the revenue department to come, and we have some of the event centers owners here that want to speak about some concerns of the ordinance that we passed a couple of months ago that we're trying to revise at this time. So yes,
Is Nikki Gavan here?
you're going to speak on behalf of all, Nikki?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I'm here today speaking on behalf of the event centers here in Montgomery. We just really gained knowledge of the ordinance that took place last year regarding liquor license, and we have had a previous meeting last week trying to see can we get a revision of that ordinance.
Okay. We will take that into consideration. That's what Mr. Calhoun, that's what we want to know about, okay?
Go ahead.
So, Ms. Nikki? So I guess my biggest question is, we had a concern when it came to, of course, underage drinking. For us, it goes from being a private to people advertising on social media. So tell me, how can we, or what are your plans on, what do you want to see change? How can we change that to make us comfortable that those type of things won't go on?
From our last meeting on last week, we discussed pretty much implementing each event center, each owner obtaining a certified bartender who would then be able to check ID if alcohol is brought on the premises, and as well as them being as more a staff, making sure that someone is at that venue at all times for the eyes and ears of that venue owner if they're not on the premises. As far as underage drinking, again, they will be checking ID, making sure that there's no anyone under the age drinking or consuming alcohol at each venue.
Okay. Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
Pam and I just had a brain, Faith, Ms. Comer, is here to talk about some ideas that we discussed after this meeting we had last week on how the city can come in and curtail a ordinance that's going to be feasible for the city of Montgomery and those who seek an event center license. So I asked them to come share their thoughts on how we proceed and how we go forward on creating this ordinance for the citizens of Montgomery.
Right. Well, we can appreciate the fact that you are requesting that the bartenders be certified through the ABC board. However, I think that there's some sort of misconception that bartenders are ABC licensees. They're not. What happens with that particular certification that you're speaking of, they're allowed to operate up under the responsible vendor program through the ABC board, but they have to operate up under an approved ABC licensee, which means that that facility or the person that they contract with or their employer would have to be an ABC licensee. That's state law. So, and we do recommend that if you're going to use a bartender, because of the training that they receive, but they still are not the actual ABC licensees. That's a misconception, and I think a lot of people were under and bartenders themselves, they were under the impression that they, because I obtained this certification, from the ABC board, that makes me an ABC licensee, and it does not.
Okay.
Okay?
Go ahead.
Good. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What we was thinking about with what we're trying to do and what Pam had shared with me, you know, the owners of the event centers would need to seek ABC licenses through the ABC board. And how that would work, you own the license, you own the facility. So if a renter wants to rent your facility, because I found out we have a BYOB ordinance on the books where you can't BYOB, you know, and we've been operating that way for years. So, you know, you would have to go out if I wanted to lease your place, I'll give you an order. You order that from the ABC board, you sign it over me at a retail price or wholesale, whatever you decide, but that will actually be in your contract. And that's the way we can monitor from a city to protect the citizens here in Montgomery and also protect you as an event center owner. And I know I talked on last week about, you know, we want to have legitimate event centers. We're not trying to push you out of business, but we don't want fly-by-night people just have spaces in the back of their building and they're leasing it out for a party. You would need to have an event center license registered through our license division in order for it to do business. So that's what your business license portion will come in. And so we're trying to critique these things because the ordinance was kind of just broad. We was painting a broad fence to try to control some things that we were seeing. And Mr. Mitchell said earlier, you know, what's happening, we got a couple on today that's already out advertising. If you're having a private event or a private function at your event center, then it shouldn't be no tickets sold. You know, that means someone rented that facility to do something private, so it becomes a private party. And we see that so much, you know, social media kills a lot of business. We get it all the time. Well, I'm out for a license, but I did a Christmas party before I got a license. So that's what we're trying to get to a point. And the suggestions that they're made kind of make sense to me. You know, if you own the event center, you're not a club, you leased it out, so you control all the controllables. That when you lease it out, and then we can keep accountability on what's going on. Because right now, as you said, we don't know when an event center leases the building. So it's taxable. It's a business, so how do we grow our taxes off of that? How do we get our services off of that? We don't know. So I think with the ABC, we're going to sit down and we kind of work together to come up with the ordinance that, you know, we can work. We want to get some feedback from you guys, put feedback from them so we can curtail something that works for the city of Montgomery and the business owners with these event centers. That's our plan.
Right. All right.
Mr. Pro Tem,
Yes, ma'am.
can I also bring to your attention that there is an ordinance on the books regarding places of assembly?
Okay.
That if it's a B2, B3, B4, B5, M1, or M3, they cannot be within 250 feet of a residential area.
Okay.
So that's another loophole they have to go through. When I receive the application, I send it to zoning, and they check that for me also.
Okay.
So that's another little glitch in there with some of them.
Okay, I was about to holler bingo then. You said B1, B2, B3, B4. I'm like, I got 5 in a row. Okay.
Ms.
Okay.
Slaylock, I have a question about that.
Yes, ma'am.
When zoning check it, is it in our packet that they checked it and it's approved?
When it doesn't come to you, and when I receive the application, I send it straight to planning controls, and they check the zoning and against this ordinance to make sure it complies. If it doesn't comply, then I call the owner and tell them they have the option of applying for a variance before the Board of Adjustment. And it won't come to you until that time.
And let me ask this question. If they're applying for a license for an event center, but they have not applied for alcohol, is it still checked anyway?
Yes, ma'am. We're checking that because we know the majority of them are going for a liquor license. And you will notice we've started, the business license has started writing on there, yes, they want alcohol, or no, they don't want alcohol. So we're starting to ask those questions to try and narrow it down before it gets to you. When it gets to you, it should be cleared for your consideration.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we'll go to the next item then. Okay.
Mr. President, before
Yes,
we
sir.
go, and I think we're still trying to work it, because Mr. Mitchell kind of pulled back on the ordinance that we had on the book. So I think we need to get a meeting or something together where we can sit down and try with legal and with business to kind of come up with something that we can present. Because I see a pattern that we're going to be getting a lot of event centers coming before. So we need to have something set in stone on how event center needs to operate. So I don't know where you want to put that, or we just need to call another meeting as a whole.
Just start calling another meeting of the committee you had last week.
Okay. All right, that's what we'll do.
Okay.
Thank
Next
you.
item. Thank you.
We're doing another committee.
Daenerys Brown, Scoot and Go Electric. Scoot and Go Electric. Tyrone Jackson.
Scooters?
Yeah, some kind of scooter.
Been some things all over Nashville. They all over Nashville, now it's in Nashville.
They college kids ride them. Big town. Got a big town, it's time to ride them. Yeah. Around.
Good afternoon.
Good
Yes, sir.
afternoon.
Hi, I'm Darius Brown. I came to the city revenue license board like 2 weeks ago, trying to get a city license to approve party rentals for the scooters. And one of the things, major concerns was safety. And the guy told me he would get back with me after meeting with the city. That was 2 weeks ago. I didn't get a return call, so I asked for this meeting to be on the agenda so that I can discuss what we could do moving forward as far as the safety precautions, because I have some available if
Who did you talk to?
Kenneth Johnson.
So what are you trying to get, a license to operate?
Yes, sir, but I wasn't able to get one, but he didn't deny it, but he didn't approve it. So he was like, he had to talk to the city board to make sure they had the different laws and ordinance or whatever.
No. So,
Did we have scooters before, one time here? Didn't we have scooters, Mayor?
Where's the business gonna be
Still got
located?
them?
No.
Oh, well, I'm trying to get a license.
yeah, we want them.
We've been trying to get them back here because tourists want them to go from place to place.
Okay, well, why didn't,
Yeah, they all over,
we
everywhere.
want
who do they need to talk to then?
So who I need to talk to? Well, I tried calling,
Well, these ladies right here, the license, they'll,
I tried calling David Card over the city park and recreations, because I'm also a local barber in the city, and I was trying to orchestrate group rides with the youth.
well,
Or something we could put together for crime prevention or something of that nature.
Do they operate with a credit card?
Sir?
They operate with a credit
No, I
card?
actually own 30 of these, so I own them.
I know that, but
how do
I
you-
know,
They don't have a,
if I wanted at least one to ride around town, I use my
you
credit
would
card?
get it from me, and I would bring it to your location or wherever you are.
Okay, all right, okay, all right.
okay. Well, then you just got a regular business license for,
Sir?
just like renting a car, or renting a motorcycle, or whatever.
Not actually, because it don't really go that fast.
Well, I understand, but my point is, it's a vehicle of transportation.
It's business. We're trying to figure out how we get you in business. That's
Once
what
you
they
talk
want.
to these ladies right here, they have a
Okay,
license.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I wanted to ask, have you made application
Yes,
for a
yes,
business
ma'am, I did,
license?
2 weeks ago.
You did that
Yes,
2
ma'am,
weeks ago?
I've called for a week straight with no return.
Well, y'all
So I
work it
didn't
out.
want to
You
go
go-
too far. you
Y'all
know,
go and work out
before-
there on the sideline, please.
Yeah.
Y'all work it out with them, okay? Mr. Boyd, William Boyd?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, Mr. Jim Wright, normally I'm down here raising hell, and the last time I was here, I was thrown out, but this time my wife and I came and said thank you. Thank you guys for supporting the annual Lacey Boy New Year Day Parade, which has been a success for the last 18 years. And without government support, I don't think we can pull this off. I try to tell people all the time, the parade costs us anywhere between $19,000 to $21,000. And we give all praise to the county who've been stepping up to the plate from day one. And today we are here to give you guys a certificate of appreciation, and we thank the council who attended the gala that we had the other day was very, very well successful in attending. Most of the elected officials who participated, they was there. We talked to you, and I thank Arundel Mitchell for coming. So today, it's our time to not raise no sand, but just to say thank you. So everyone who supported the parade, we have a nice certificate with their picture on it, and let my wife read it, and we out of y'all hair.
All of the certificates read the same. This certificate of appreciation is proudly presented to, and it has everyone's name, as a special recognition and appreciation of your dedicated leadership and commitment, your ongoing service, concern, and support of the community, and this event has not gone unnoticed. You have truly given the phrase, above and beyond the call of duty, a new meaning. Thank you, and may God bless you for your civic service.
Thank you.
We have an award for Councilman Charles Wright, Councilor Marsha Johnson, Councilman C.C. Calhoun, Arundel Mitchell, and the Mayor Stephen Reed. So we can present these. If y'all can come down and take a picture, we really would appreciate it. And I want to thank the mayor for really, he sponsored most of this, not all, but he did wrote us a little small check, and we appreciate your contribution, man.
Why don't we
Yes.
do it right here? Do it right here. Let's have to go down bottom.
No, my wife did it. Yeah, yes, she did it.
See how peaceful it is? Come down here. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Thank you.
Come here.
I know, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Adam Goldmeyer.
How's it going? My name's Adam Goldmeyer. I'm here as an owner's representative for Kensington Apartments. First and foremost, I want to thank you guys for letting me speak today pretty quickly. I'll try to be fast. I did prepare a quick presentation. I don't know if you can get it up.
Okay.
But essentially in October, we actually
Get back to me. Okay, that's, we got,
no, right, I'll try.
is him. Is he here to talk to you? See,
Mike, can we get Mike?
Sorry about that.
Oh, yes, yes.
hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Just give us a second here. What's your name?
Yes.
I mean, okay, you guys step on the board, okay.
All right, I think you're here to ask about some plans that you want to change. during
Yeah,
this
so
renovation.
essentially, I came back in the beginning of October, and we spoke about a plan to be presented to the city about how to move forward with the Kensington Apartments. And our initial plan, if you go to the next slide. So first and foremost, we come from a place of not a lot of experience in these value-add multifamily projects. A lot of the ones that we generally deal with in Louisiana, Illinois, they all have business licenses already. So once we really were aware of what was going wrong, we wanted to make sure we were working in compliance with the city every step of the way. And I met with the former building inspector, chief building inspector, and we kind of devised a plan. And I don't think we fully understood the severity of the circumstances around that plan. So if you look at the map that I have up there, we wanted to start with Section C, even though we did a bunch of work all over the property just to get the business license for Section C. So what that entailed was inspections on, obviously, plumbing, mechanical, fire, zoning, building, all for Section C in each individual unit. And our initial plan was to focus on solely on Section C and get the business license and certificate of occupancy for Section C, and then renovate through Section B, and then down through Section A, and then after we complete renovations, apply for the business license for Section A and B. So what we've learned through the process of trying to get it through Section C is that the cost of, for example, wanting to replace hot water heaters, considering we're going to try and hold the apartments for a long time, if you want to replace a hot water heater, I was under the impression in 2021 that it'd be a grandfathered in, you wouldn't have to pull a permit for that. And we obviously learned, and I think I go through it in a slide coming up, about how much we spent just to get these 8 units in compliance with the city with the business license. So I guess what I'm here to ask for today is for a small revision to our plan. And I guess I'll come back to this. We can actually go to the next slide. So just to get electrical permits, to get a licensed electrician out to our property, given like the crime going around in the area, it's pretty difficult to get somebody to come out. It was around $10,000 to get the hot water heaters purchased, and permits for them was like $14,000. Fire inspection, our extinguishers got stolen 3 different occasions, but we kept replacing them. And the fire department and the building department, because I'm obviously not the most experienced with this, weren't always working hand in hand. So initially, I guess before we even revised this plan, I kind of learned that along the way. But HVAC, mechanical, so we spent around $17,487 per door, and we can only lease 7 of these 8 units because one of them is designated office. So when your rent increase is around $100 a door, $150 a door, I understand it's not really necessarily your guys' concern, but from a business perspective, it's difficult to justify it, considering that all around the property, with this is only 8 of 158 units. The other 150, we aren't going to have a license for right now, and we aren't collecting rent on, and we don't have more than 48 residents occupying them. But if we go to the next slide, I want to say what we did do was take care of the eyesore of the community, something that when we first initially met with the building inspector, Tom's car, we were like pretty aware that the surrounding neighborhood was very upset with the exterior, the way that it looked. So we renovated the full exterior. I encourage anyone to drive by the property. It looks pretty beautiful now. It's like a brown and white finish. And we're about to finish putting up the big black fence around it. So the exterior is looking good all around the property. The roofs are all replaced. So we spent a lot of our money there. And if we go to the next slide, it's just more pictures of our exterior. The old exterior kind of looked like the picture to the left. And just more exterior pictures. I wanted to put a video in, but it wasn't necessarily working with the PowerPoint. But we can go to the next slide. So in January, we had a change in the chief building inspector. And immediately we reached out to him. And he was very quick to respond, very eager to help us out. And I was kind of explaining to him all the problems that I'm having with just getting Section C passed. I didn't have a contractor on site, did not get robbed, and it was difficult to get anybody to come out there. And then when the lack of experience coupled with the fact that our residents are pretty upset and know that we don't have a business license, it came to a point where there was like multiple attempts when we had inspections called, when they weren't able to get into the units or were threatening our maintenance men. And I think in their perspective, us getting the business license means they have to pay rent. So it caused this tough situation for us. And for example, the roofer quit mid-job. He was doing a great job, didn't want to come back to the property. The electrician, I had to go through 2 or 3, and then finally we found one that was able to get it. And actually, after calling the chief building inspector, Kippy Tate, he came out, and while we were walking the property, one of our contractors was, their power washer was taken from them. So he was obviously aware of what was going on, and he kind of explained to us that the process that we went through, which is sectioning off 8 units of 158, wasn't something we necessarily had to do, and he kind of had a different initiative he wanted to take, which is great, but we already started a different initiative. So he explained to me that I presented this plan to the council, and he wanted me to propose, if I was going to alter it at all, that I get it approved by the council. And he, being a former architect, kind of explained to us that we didn't really ever create architectural plans. We weren't moving any sockets or outlets. We're kind of just putting new LVT flooring in, new HVAC systems, new hot water heaters. But I guess we didn't understand the severity of all the permits that have to come with that. So if we had AC that was working somewhat well, in my head it was replace it right away because we're going to be here for a while and we want to get brand new ACs. I didn't know the cost of the permit, having to get the inspection after that, associated with all that, while we're not collecting any rent. So we can go to the next slide. So like I said, we have those 8 units at the top that we are good to go, and now we have 150 in sections A and B. The majority of our 48 or 50 occupied of the 150 are in section A. But we're finding it like extremely difficult to make progress. It almost feels like the crime is going backwards on our property ever since it was pretty public. And I understand the city's perspective. You guys want us to have a business license, and we want to do everything we can to get a business license. But ever since that happened, it feels like it's going backwards in terms of the order and trying to restore any sort of progress on the apartments themselves. So, you go to the next slide. I also kind of want to make it clear that I think there's somewhat maybe a narrative, maybe I'm putting in my own head, that these guys from New York come in, they're these big investors, they don't really care about the city, and they're not really trying to work with the city. But we are here trying to work with you guys every step of the way. We're not making any money on the property. Last year, we lost close to $1 million, and our delinquent balance right now is very high. We're not really collecting any rent. Like I said, 50 of 158 occupied, and now that we have that Section C, we can actually occupy those 8 units, so it's somewhat light at the end of the tunnel, and it feels pretty good. And we have a rent increase there that I think is pretty justified, that the units look very good. But after meeting with Mr. Tate, we kind of decided that moving forward, any sort of construction that we're going to do, we should get plans in place with the architect, so that when the inspections come, and that's the other thing, when the inspections would come out, it felt like the goalposts would move a lot, and I know that these guys are all doing their job to make sure that they have the safety of the building, and that's their priority. But for us, it was hard to get a consistent list that we need to have in every single apartment, and times it felt like it was pretty impossible. But we can go to the next slide, is kind of where, so like our top priority on here today is to ask if we are going to halt all construction until we can pass the inspections on Section A and B with the units that we have occupied and I guess available for rent, to just get a business license so that we can basically announce to our tenants we have a business license, so they aren't under the impression that, I guess we want to work with them as well. But I think when I spoke in October, we had close to like 75 work orders. We're down to like 1, and I think that our residents, it's a negative feedback loop where they'll call the city a lot on us because they think that we're getting close to a business license. Like in Section C, like the last few inspections were pretty difficult. So what our new proposed plan would be to, like I said, we finished the outside. It's not an eyesore. We have to fix the trash situation. That's difficult because I don't know how to even fix this. A lot of people from the community come in and put trash on our property since we're this big property, and we have a big dumpster, and it happens all the time. We catch it on camera all the time. We try to report the license plates, but it's difficult to keep that in order. I know it's not necessarily your guys' problem, but so we kind of want to get a business license on A and B with the units that we have occupied and be able to, I guess, have that license before, and then get an architect to come in and have plans drawn up, even though, like I said, I've worked on properties in Illinois where we're doing like ground up development and sort of construction where you're moving outlets or you're moving kitchens, and everything we're keeping kind of the same. We're just upgrading everything. But we'll still want to get plans so that when the inspections come, they know exactly what to look for. But yeah, I guess my main point is I'm asking if it's okay with the city that we are going to focus solely on A and B. We're not going to do any more renovations until we have those licensing. And then we have the licensing, we'll go through the proper protocol of when we upgrade a hot water heater or an HVAC, we pull the permit from a licensed electrician, and we get an inspection passed after. But for us to get order in the property and kind of keep the crime down, we think that from our perspective, the most important thing is just getting the licensing so that our residents aren't.
Okay, Adam, I have a question. Have you applied for the business license?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have?
Oh, we weren't really allowed to apply for any licensing outside of Section C until it was passed. That was our understanding.
Okay.
But at the meeting with Mr. Tate, he told us we can apply for it.
Okay, but yeah, that's what I would. Yeah, I spoke with Mr. Tate on that, Kippy, about that. He's out today, but
Yeah.
on your plans, he would like to approve the plans and see what you're talking about on your plans, and whatever he recommends that you guys do, I'm all fine with that. I don't have a problem. You guys have stayed to your word on what you was trying to do on the renovation of that property going forward. If you got A and B as you speaking up the part, I'm fine with you applying for your business license and, moving forward. Because I understand $1 million loss and those type things.
Tough, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't have a problem. You're doing what you said. You committed to it, and you're staying on top of it, so I'm fine with that.
But the other thing, I think the city was like, at least the building department was getting on us about the speed. And I think it's just difficult to move fast considering that you have to do it the right way, and it's difficult. And then that's why the price goes up a lot if you want to do it fast. I guess the contractors all know the area, and they kind of know they have the upper hand considering they read the news. And so we are overpaying for things. But
Okay, you guys here to talk about his license?
The question is okay, you have certain parcels or part of the buildings on the property that you're seeking to get a certificate of occupancy on? Okay, So that's all we need for licensing.
Okay.
We just need for council to approve the fact that we're getting, they're presenting us with a certificate of occupancy on portions of the property and not the property in its entirety, so that we can go ahead and have your approval to issue the license based on the certificate of occupancy on the few buildings that he's making ready.
Well, that was like under the direction of up until January, and then Mr. Tate told us that we could just apply for the 150 bulk at once.
Okay.
And that we could get our inspections, and they would, I guess, inspect the occupied and vacant ready apartments.
Okay.
And then we basically move from there.
So you prepared to do what she's asking to do on certificate of occupancy on the ones you have completed? Instead of waiting till
100%. No, the ones we have complete, like section C, and then if you look up section A and B, a lot of them are gonna be in section A,
Okay.
some in section B, but at least the exterior is all completed. Now we have to go back into those 54 interior.
Okay. So apply for your license.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. One other person to speak to is Commander Williams with the American Legion. You here?
He have left the building.
He left the building? Okay. Jamal Brown, you want to speak right quick?
Fred Williams.
Is Commander Williams here?
There you go.
He's over there, okay.
Yeah, he coming.
Where's Commander Williams?
Mr. Williams.
Yeah, hey, Jamal, Commander Williams is first.
Come on, man.
Let's go. We're running behind on the meeting.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council.
Yes, sir, quick.
I'm just here just to kind of explain some of the things I've been doing in spite of COVID with our veterans program. And we're asking for your assistance. We have our golf tournament coming up, our second annual golf tournament.
Okay.
Of course, our honorary chairperson for this one is going to be Mr. John Knight. But we're doing it at the Arrowhead Country Club. We've been raising money trying to expand our program in light of COVID. Our program is completely full now. I had to downsize last year to 8 beds, and we have a waiting list with about 6 veterans trying to get off the street, trying to get into our program. We house homeless veterans.
Okay.
We provide a number of assistance programs for them. We do not get county funding or city funding assistance. We have been able to get limited assistance through y'all a few years back. Of course, during the COVID time, I didn't come down and ask anyone for any assistance. We've just been doing various fundraisers such as this golf tournament.
If you send us a letter, we will.
Yes, and I will. I just wanted to make sure.
Very good, thank you. Jamal, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Yeah, quick.
I just want to, it's 5 o'clock, I'll wait.
Okay, you wait, okay. All right, we'll adjourn this meeting and reconvene.